Hey Flag fans, I'm Gray, and welcome back to Flag Facts. Today's show is all about the flag of America's Magnolia State, Mississippi. Mississippi is a state in the southeastern region of the country and is surrounded by Tennessee to the north, Alabama to the east, the Gulf of Mexico and Louisiana to the south, as well as Arkansas and Louisiana to the west. By size, Mississippi is the 32nd largest state, and with a population of around 2.9 million people, it comes in as the 35th most populated. While Mississippi was admitted to the Union as the 20th state in December of 1817, it did not adopt an official flag until it seceded from the Union in 1861. And here it is, the first official flag of Mississippi. The design consisted of a magnolia tree set upon a field of white. In the upper left corner sat a small blue field which contained a single, white, five-pointed star. Finally, the elements of the flag were surrounded by a red border. The blue field and star were a reference to the Bonnie Blue flag, a design that can be traced to the short-lived Republic of West Florida. Following Mississippi's vote to secede from the Union, the Bonnie Blue was briefly used by some in the state, which in turn inspired Harry McCarthy to write the well-known Confederate song, The Bonnie Blue Flag. After joining the Confederate States of America, Mississippi saw the use of the Confederate national flag. Though the Magnolia Flag remained as the official state flag, it did not see widespread use. Following the Confederacy's defeat in 1865, many ordinances enacted as part of the Secession Convention of 1861 were repealed, and this included those pertaining to the flag. This left Mississippi without a state flag for nearly 30 years. In 1894, Mississippi adopted its second state flag. The new design consisted of 3 stripes, one blue, one white, and one red. In the left-hand corner of the flag sat a square red field, which, as described by the state legislature, contained a broad blue saltire thereon bordered with white and emblazoned with 13 mullets or 5-pointed stars, corresponding to the number of the original states of the Union. As you can see, the stripes of the new flag were fairly reminiscent of the first national flag of the Confederacy, and the pattern in the canton was none other than the Confederate Battle Flag. Although not explicitly stated by the legislature, the inclusion of these Confederate-style symbols was quite clearly intended to ensure that the legacy of the Confederacy would live on in Mississippi. And the flag was by no means an outlier. The design was adopted at a time when many in the South sought to preserve the history of the Confederacy and popularize Confederate imagery. Confederate veterans organizations held remembrances and reunions throughout the South, erected monuments and memorials, and worked to influence public perception of the war through textbooks and children's programming that presented a romanticized version of history. This movement was known as the Lost Cause, and the Mississippi flag certainly fell under that charge. In his January 1894 State of the State address, Governor John M. Stone, who himself was a Confederate veteran, pledged to cheerfully sanction any proper legislation for the benefit of the Confederate soldiers and sailors, and their widows. Recognizing that Mississippi no longer had an official state flag, Stone asked the legislature to provide one, which was quickly produced and signed into law on February 7th. The flag was likely designed by State Senator Edward Scudder, whose daughter had this to say at a 1924 meeting of the United Daughters of the Confederacy. "My father loved the memory of the valor and courage of those brave men who wore the gray. He told me that it was a simple matter for him to design the flag because he wanted to perpetuate in a legal and lasting way that dear battle flag under which so many of our people had so gloriously fought. And it was the inclusion of that very battle flag that would ultimately seal the fate of the Mississippi flag." Although the flag was not a national flag of the Confederacy, the Confederate Battle Flag quickly became the Confederacy's most enduring symbol. By featuring the emblem on the Mississippi flag, public opinion of the flag was inextricably linked to public opinion of the battle flag and the Confederacy itself. At the time the state flag was adopted, the battle flag did not see widespread use beyond Confederate veterans organizations. However, as time went on, that changed. By the mid-20th century, the flag was often used outside of a memorial context and was instead used as a symbol of Southern regional identity. That said, it was not a symbol celebrated by all Americans. When Mississippi adopted its state flag in 1894, it was not met with any public opposition. However, it was no coincidence that it was adopted at a time when Black voices were systematically and often violently suppressed. While many white Southerners, influenced by the teachings of the Lost Cause, came to see the battle flag as a symbol of heritage, for many in the Black community, the flag served as a painful reminder of slavery and the ongoing effects of discrimination. The flag's association with racism was further solidified during the Civil Rights era when it was used to protest integration. The state of Georgia even added it to their state flag in reaction to the Brown v. Board of Education decision that banned segregation in public schools. On top of that, the flag was also widely used by explicitly white supremacist groups such as the Dixiecrats, and perhaps most famously, the Ku Klux Klan. Yet, even with these overtly offensive displays, the battle flag continued to appear in popular culture. Between the early 1950s and late 1970s, the flag experienced somewhat of a national fad that saw it used more generically as a symbol of rebellion and independence. However, as time went on, public opposition to the flag grew more vocal. Which brings us to the familiar debate: is the Confederate battle flag a symbol of heritage or a symbol of hate? Well, folks, it can be both. Now, I know that's not an easy answer for the internet, which is chronically allergic to nuance, but the fact of the matter is its history is complicated. Like any other symbol, the meaning is derived from the context of its use, and that use has changed over time. While the argument can certainly be made that any symbol of the Confederacy is inherently tied to racism, it cannot be denied that the flag, for many, represents the honor and sacrifice of those who fought for what they believed in. Now, we could dive down this rabbit hole for quite some time, and if you want to learn more about the history of this flag, I highly recommend John M. Koski's book for an incredibly thorough and objective examination of its use over time. But the point is, it's complicated. What we can agree on, however, is that divisive symbols tend not to make great state symbols. And that brings us back to Mississippi. While the state flag faced little criticism for most of the 20th century, by the late 1980s, some in the state began to question the design. Several attempts to repeal the flag were introduced in the state legislature, though they were ultimately unsuccessful. In 1993, the Mississippi NAACP filed a lawsuit against the flag, arguing that it violated Mississippians' constitutional rights. After a lower court dismissed the case, the NAACP appealed to the Mississippi Supreme Court. While the Supreme Court agreed with the ruling of the lower court, they did make an interesting discovery. The Mississippi state flag had been accidentally repealed in 1906, when the state adopted a revised code. The court went on to say that any dispute over the state flag was a political issue that should be addressed by the legislative and executive branches and not the judiciary. Which now brings us to the 2001 Mississippi flag referendum. In January of 2001, Governor Ronnie Musgrove created an independent commission to develop a new design for the state flag, which would face off against the 1894 design in a statewide referendum. The new design kept the 3 blue, white, and red stripes from the 1894 flag and simply replaced the canton with a field of blue containing 20 white stars, representing Mississippi's status as the 20th state. The design, however, failed to resonate with the voters, and the 1894 flag was approved with 64% of the vote. While the 2001 referendum settled the debate in Mississippi for a time, the Confederate battle flag remained a controversial symbol. In the wake of a 2015 Charleston, South Carolina church shooting, where 9 black congregants were killed by a white supremacist and Confederacy admirer, many in the public called for the removal of the Confederate battle flag from public displays and official symbols. But it was not until 2020 that the Mississippi flag itself was officially retired. Following the death of George Floyd and the ensuing national protests, the Mississippi legislature passed a bill to establish a new state flag. The bill stipulated that the new design must include the phrase, "In God We Trust," and that the design could not include the Confederate battle flag. A design contest was soon opened to the public, which received more than 2,000 submissions. After several rounds of finalists, the State Redesign Commission selected this design as the winner. The flag was created by Rocky Vaughn, with design support provided by Sue Anna Joe, Kara Giles, Dominique Pugh, Clay Moss, and Micah Whitson. In the center, the design features a white magnolia on a blue background. The flower is surrounded by 20 white, 5-pointed stars that represent Mississippi's status as the 20th state, as well as a slightly larger gold star composed of 5 diamonds, which represent Native Americans. Below the flower is the motto, "In God We Trust." Finally, the blue field in the center is framed by red and gold bars. The color blue echoes the blue of the American flag, which represents vigilance, justice, and perseverance. And the bands of red represent hardiness and valor. The gold line and stamen of the magnolia are a nod to the rich cultural history of Mississippi, specifically the visual arts, literature, music, and performing arts that originated in the state. In November of 2020, the In God We Trust flag was submitted to a public vote as a ballot measure, where it overwhelmingly passed, garnering 73% of the vote. The design soon made its way through the state legislature and was officially adopted on January 11, 2021. And there you go. That's everything you need to know about the state flag of Mississippi. So what'd you think? Is it a good design? Do you prefer the original Magnolia flag? Let us know in the comments below. And while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe for more flag-related content just like this. If you're in the market for a Mississippi flag or any other flag, head on over to FlagandBanner.com for all your flag flying needs. And as always, thank you for watching. We'll catch you next time on Flag Facts.